Okay, so I don't know if you want to start with your questions or just like general feedback.
Yeah.
All right, general it is. So, I really liked the activity. I think that like obviously you were time crunched, but in like the perfect world, I think not having the abrupt stop. Obviously, I'm sure you're totally like, yeah, duh, I know that. But
it's like a 4-minute song, and I'm just like,
yeah, you're like not today. So like I think that that's gonna make a big difference to kind of let them come out of their little like, oh, okay, now we're listening to the teacher, because the first thing they're gonna hear is like you giving instruction, and your emphasis immediately after that break is gonna be one of the biggest takeaways that they probably get, is from that transition from I'm listening to, now I'm actually listening to like instruction, you know what I mean? And that's gonna be your initial instruction. So I think that your biggest like item that you want them to take away should come immediately somewhere like very very quickly after the actual experience. But I really liked it because there's more than one way to listen, and that's a very very good way to catch their attention and give them something memorable to attach it like the learning to.
Cool. Thank you.
I really like that. Even just with the three of us sitting here, like Emma was laying on the floor with her eyes closed.
Yeah.
Kylie was kind of curled up in her own little corner, and I'm just over here like not knowing what to do with myself. You know, like you've got the like three different styles right there, and I think definitely in a classroom, like tell them to lay on the floor. If that's what they feel, then definitely. Because I remember a couple of classes like my teachers have done that, and it was probably the most soothing, like step back away from the full days of instruction that it can be.
Yeah, I think it really kicks like it's important to listen not only to others but to yourself, to your environment. Like there's a lot of things. I really
liked that there was no words in it, because then you weren't listening to the words trying to make sense of what was going on in the song. You were just listening to the rhythm.
Right.
So.
Kind.
I know, sorry, I just didn't want to interrupt anyone. I really like how, like what Shannon was saying, because, I mean, even just seeing the three of us, that all of us are learn very differently, and how we each had, like, totally different thoughts on what you were actually teaching, and, like, I think that lesson, like, does a really good job of, like, making sure, like, that you gave them, like, I mean, specific and broad instruction, so that there was a range of places where your students could, because I mean that's something else I was thinking, is that like usually like if I'm like relaxing, I'm either just like dead, or like I am like usually like doodling and stuff like that, and like Emma was like noticing like physical things that she was doing and stuff like that. And so, I don't know, I just think that listening also, like, it reminded me, like, is mind and body. Because, I mean, a lot of the things that you do, like, with your body show that you're listening, show that you're engaged, and, I mean, things that you're doing with your mind also, obviously. Anyway, I thought you did really well.
See, I was afraid, because, like, this isn't something that, like, teachers usually do in lessons. That's why I was just like... But it's something that I learned in motivation and management, and I was just like, I want to try it. So I didn't know if it was something that would be like too liberal or whatever. So
I think you'll just have to try it out with each of your classes, because for some students it might not work.
Be able to handle it, and others may do really well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were the questions?
Oh, so like where were we most involved was one of them?
Yeah, where did we feel most involved? I felt like that the whole thing was pretty involved with the students. I mean, us obviously, but like that, like you asked us questions and then had us participate in an activity, and then post questions after the activity. So I felt like it was pretty involved, even though it was like an individual activity.
Which was it was almost like backwards of what you'd expect, because we weren't doing a lot. Like if someone walked in, they'd be like, what the heck, why are they all sleeping, you know? Like it doesn't look like we're doing a lot, but we actually are doing a lot. Like I felt very involved when I was like literally just focused on like myself. Like it was very internalized, you know, the listening, but like I felt very very involved in the activity at the same time, you know. So, and a lot of it had to do with your instruction prior to be like shoved like your homework out, don't be thinking about your boyfriend or whatever, you know. It was very like take this time and like internalize your thoughts, you know. And so, like, it was very involved the whole time, even though it didn't look like we were doing much.
Cool.
Ditto.
Okay, let's see. The other questions. Most important skill or fact that you learned during this activity?
To listen more precisely.
I think for me it was not necessarily focus on the one thing in the instruction, but rather focus on the entirety of the instruction. Because like the thing that I pinpointed from the instruction was like, listen to the instruments, and so I'm like, is that a xylophone or a piano? Like, you know, so that's the thing that I focused on mostly the whole time until I got sidetracked with my skin on my arm. But so like I think just listening to the entirety of the instruction, definitely. I don't know that. I don't even remember what the question was.
No, you're totally good. So like it's asking like about important skills or facts you learned, and I think honestly being able to listen to like the things around you at the same time as being able to listen to yourself is really, really important. Because, for example, if you're having like a really stressful day and you're not taking care of yourself in addition to trying to keep up with everything else, like finding a good balance there, you're gonna end up like burning the candle at both ends, and you're not gonna like, take care of them or yourself. As like a teacher, it's just not gonna work. You have to have a balance, but you have to be able to listen to like, okay, where am I at right now? I'm like a little bit, you know, am I hangry? Like, what's the deal? You know, like make sure that you're balanced so that you can keep a balanced classroom as well, and make sure that your students are doing okay. And that also comes with listening. It's just like a different kind of listening, you know? And I feel like this activity was good for that.
Sorry, I don't want to butt in again, but I've seen a couple of teachers do this with their classrooms. And one of the things that they do is they'll go and shuffle through papers, or they'll go and type on the computer, you know, do something like that. So I actually really appreciated that you weren't doing anything. You were sitting there and like watching us listen, but like you were listening too. So like, yeah, I appreciated that. Yeah.
So what was the last question?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not
So no, it's okay. So how did the teaching activity encourage you to participate with more enthusiasm? So with like a student perspective, it was very much like, yes, something different. Immediately, I was like, the second you were like, we're gonna take a moment, I was like mouthing to Shannon, and I was like, pass the pillow, and she's like throwing it over the camera, like, because I was like, yes, like something different, and I was really excited because it wasn't like, let me focus, you know. And I think the students, hopefully, depending on your class environment, obviously, but I think they're gonna respond very similarly. They'll be excited to just do something out of the ordinary, and it'll be memorable because of that.
I think you can throw it into multiple different aspects of whatever you're going to teach too. Like, you know, a couple of times a semester even, you could throw that in there just for different things. Or, you know, you can do it where it's just like instrumental, or you can do like something else. Like, you know, if you're teaching on tourism, like specifically like touring something, you know, you can do sounds of like the city bustle, or, you know, whatever. So
that's true, because if you're like writing a brochure, you need to like, even if you can't go to the place, you need to be able to experience it to
like
some
mind,
extent.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
Mind over matter.
So yes, I think it's true. You can use this in multiple ways. Kylie.
Yeah, I know, sorry. But I also think that, like, I mean, obviously right here would be an awkward setting, but I mean, you like told us to get comfortable, but also like, I think like get them like excited about that. Like, I want you guys to take time to, you know, take a second and like, let's push all the desks out of the way. Let's like, I mean, don't get like crazy or like messy, but just like
you don't need to bring a waterfall in.
No, but just be like, hey, like,
That'd be okay.
Everyone, I want you to like, let's take, you know, whatever, like, let's take a minute and a half. Let's move the desks, and I want everyone to get comfortable. And so then they're like, okay,
what are we doing?
Like, we can get comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, so then they're actually like, I mean, I don't want to say that you need to be prepared to do this activity specifically, I guess, but like, I mean, then that gives them a minute to be like, oh, okay, like transition mode.
Cool.
But I thought you did great.
Thank you guys